You know, niggas gotta get their priorities together. Got their mind on the wrong things, spending their money in the wrong way.
Trapaholics, real trap shit.
Say you need that car with the rims and a trunk, just like Jim. It's more than life. Yeah.
I'm telling you. Talk to him.
Say you need that LV bag with the belt and the hat.
That's all you got though.
It's more than life. Yeah.
Talk to him. Real.
Say you wanna turn up at the club, buy some bottles, impress them girls. It's more than life.
Fucking everybody.
Yeah.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to Saints and Appetizers podcast. And who dat? And this evening we have some main course for you. It's been a little while since we've had some main course for you, but we have some filet mignon of main courses for you because we're talking about have our final thought on Derek Carr, the craziest outcome that you could have thought of. In that whole situation that we were dealing with of Saints fans, it feels like a whole new weight has lifted off our shoulders. But we'll get into the final thought, and then we'll go over the Saints 2025 schedule. The schedule has been released, so maybe we'll go through that and maybe pick out maybe games that they might be able to win, or if they can win any games of the season, and go over some of the goods and the positives about it, and if there's any news and notes kind of about any other teams. But anyways, let's get into this because I got just the final thought on Derek Carr, and honestly, after that, I don't really want to be talking too much about him like that. He's done. He's retired. So, anyways, so can I get a menu? And so we just mentioned that out of all things, one of the most surprising things I could have expected was Derek Carr just Saturday evening, this past Saturday, I'm just kind of lazing around the house and pick my phone up and start scrolling through some Twitter and some Facebook and see that he retired. Derek Carr actually retired. And that is just so surprising because you'd have thought that with the way his contract is set up and how they just did the restructure, it'd be just so easy for Derek Carr to have just gone on IR and got his 40 million. But man, Derek Carr did the Saints a solid, honestly. And now I kind of feel bad for any negatives or bad things I've kind of said about Derek Carr over these last couple podcasts. It feels like a complete saga of them, the whole story going in one direction, and then it comes back and goes into another direction. He's going to be out for the season. He plans on trying to start the season. Like it was wild, but there was no definitive answer to exactly what the injury was and when what the injury when it happened, But then I guess we got kind of some of that. Still really kind of cloudy, even though the Saints looked like they were going to have like a $40 million cap hit onto everything else they have with him, but instead with Derek Carr retiring, it saves the Saints $30 million, and I guess they had some kind of mutual agreement that okay, you're giving us the 30 million back, just for a good faith. We'll let you keep the 10 million signing bonus, but that just seems odd. Derek Carr has been one of the highest earners in the NFL, and been all about making money. Talking about during some interviews that he's had about how he's not going to take a pay cut. He knows what he's put on film. He knows what's left in his career. Like he didn't seem like he was just going to up and retire and give $30 million back when like going through all those podcasts or not podcasts, posts and Twitter and X comments and stuff about it. I had to like double check to make sure like those weren't like parody sites or meme sites, or had to check and double check on what date it was. Felt like a bad April Fool's joke. But with all Saints fans out there, it just feels like a new day has been blessed upon the Saints, and gotta congratulate Derek Carr. He really did the Saints a solid here. And like I said, it's still kind of cloudy about what it is, what the whole situation led to Derek Carr's retirement? Now you're kind of hearing that, I guess, we're he thinks that he heard it on the same play that he had against the Giants, where he dove over them and broke his hand and part of his wrist, and I guess thinks that he heard it then, which seems kind of odd because never really heard anything about him having any discomfort or injury to that shoulder. And it's actually his throwing shoulder, because before a little bit more of this news came up out about it, I thought it was maybe his left shoulder that got damaged and sprained when Rashawn Gary like jumped on his back and slammed him into the ground the season before. But this uh, somehow happened with when he jumped over the yard marker and trying to get the first down on 2nd and 10. And I guess all up until just a couple weeks ago, he hadn't been like ramping up on throwing like any real serious passes. And I guess he just started feeling discomfort in there. And I guess more tests by his private doctors and then Saints doctors and imagers finds out that he's got damage to his labrum and has a degenerative issue going on there. So that sounds like the whole degenerative part's the worst part, because that just means it's going to continue to get worse and worse and worse. And the more you're using it and moving it, the more it's just going to disintegrate. That's kind of similar to what kind of ended the last couple of years of Drew Brees, the noodle arm Drew Brees, no more than 40 air yards for Drew Brees. But now I guess that sounds like got the degenerative labrum issue, and it's all in the throwing shoulder. And I guess the only uh, opportunity for him to play this year was to get surgery, but now he's just retiring and man, doing the Saints a big solid. So for a lot of those people out there that were hating on Derek Carr and talking about how he's never done anything good for New Orleans or the Saints, you got to maybe backpedal a little bit on that, because he did them about the best out that they could have possibly gotten in this whole situation with just people not liking Derek Carr, the contract not working, him being kind of injury prone, and just what the Saints originally expected when signing him to a $150 million contract with the 5 years. But the whole tinfoil hat in me still makes me think that maybe Derek Carr injured himself somehow other than NFL football activities. I think he maybe injured it in the off season, skiing or jet skiing or doing any other kind of wild sports, zip lining and hurt himself. And basically, he kind of lied to the Saints. He didn't let them know like right away that he had the injury before signing the $40 million. So on top of it possibly being a non-football injury, which that could have just absolutely voided his contract. The Saints may have went to the NFLPA, or the NFL took him to NFL court to try to get that money back for him possibly lying to them, or maybe they already knew before doing the restructure because they wanted to see how things would play out, and maybe they thought they knew that Derek Carr retiring was on the table. But anyways, that's about all I have to say about Derek Carr. There's still something to it. I still don't think all the news and information's come out about it. It wouldn't surprise me at all, even though hearing about the labrum and the degenerative issue in his shoulder wouldn't surprise me at all if Derek Carr just sits out this whole season and maybe gets the surgery and then just rehabs all of 2025 and heck comes back and unretires in 2026, because I mean he'll only be 35 then. But gotta remember, not everyone's Drew Brees and not everyone's Tom Brady that can play into their 40s. But no more Derek Carr talk. It's time to move on to the next era of Saints football, and with the Saints 2025 schedule dropping, moving on to the next era in Saints football. I don't know how positive it's going to be. At least don't know how positive it's going to be for this first season under Kellen Moore and just a young group of quarterbacks. But let's go over these games, the regular season, and maybe even the preseason. When seeing these dates for the preseason, I was like, man, I cannot believe it feels like NFL football is almost back in just like 2 months, man. With the way the NFL has made like such a spectacle out of like the combine and the draft and the schedule release and the preseason and Hall of Fame and Hall of Fame game and all that. Man, it just doesn't feel like the off seasons don't feel quite as long as they used to. But let's get into the 2025 schedule for the Saints because there's a few positives to it, but there's quite a few negatives as well that really just kind of make you realize how down bad the Saints currently are in this current era. But we're looking for a way out. So just like I was saying, just August 10th, the Saints will be having their first preseason game of the 2025 season. So that'll be Sunday, August 10th at Los Angeles Chargers. So I could easily see, especially because Brandon Staley used to be their head coach, I could see a joint practice with them. And then their second preseason game, Sunday, August 17th, against the Jacksonville Jaguars, and that's at home. The Chargers game is at Los Angeles, so that's at home at noon. All these games are on Fox 8 or Gray TV. And then you have the third preseason game is Saturday, August 23rd, Denver Broncos at home at noon. And so that's an interesting thing to find out is if the Saints end up having joint practice with the Denver Broncos and Sean Payton. Maybe they could do us a solid there. So I could see them doing joint practices with any all three of those teams, but the one that would be the most interesting would definitely be if Sean Payton comes back to New Orleans or wherever the Saints are holding their training camp and does a joint practices with them. That would be just so funny. That'd definitely be something to watch for. So that's the preseason. Nothing too exciting about that. Maybe just the Denver Broncos scenario, but besides that, it doesn't really matter if you win or lose in the preseason. Kind of like it doesn't really matter too much if the Saints win their season opener. But the biggest takeaway from the whole regular season for the New Orleans Saints, the 2025 regular season, is for the first time in 25 years since the 2000 season, the Saints have no primetime games, which with my previous understanding, I thought every team played on Thursday night, which I'm not crying or belly aching over the Saints not playing in a garbage Thursday night slotted NFL game. But man, it's a little embarrassing not making it on a Sunday night or a Monday night football game. It's a little embarrassing, but at the same time, if the Saints are going to be as bad as everyone thinks, then it's kind of a saving grace that coming into every game they're considered an underdog, and if they get blown out or embarrassed, at least it'll be a smaller audience of probably just the team that they're playing, their fans, and then obviously Houdat's watching. So the whole worldwide nation doesn't get to see just how terrible the Saints are and how they're going for their super tank job this year, looking for the number one pick uh, with just how things have played out in this whole scenario. So maybe the Saints will, the fans the of the world, the whole nation won't get to see the master class tank job that the Saints have going. But anyway, so that's one big takeaway is the no primetime games, and then see the no primetime games, and I'm trying to see. Yeah, there's no primetime games, and supposedly, if you're just going off win-loss record of their opponents in 2025 from their win-loss record in 2024, the Saints have like the easiest, second easiest schedule as well. So we'll see. Well, obviously, they have to play the games. They have to see how injuries and things like that go. Obviously, they didn't give any primetime games to the 2000 Saints, and they ended up winning 10 games. So maybe the Saints could do that as well. But I think the Saints total win-loss record is 4.410, so under 500 for like almost every team they're playing. I think there's only four teams with a winning record on their schedule, so five if you consider playing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Those are teams that made the playoffs. So that's a few positives. The prime time games and the strength of schedule, and then we'll just finish up on positives, and maybe we'll go on to a couple negatives. I guess that's a negative not being on prime time, depending on how you want to look at it. That could be a positive or a negative. It's a positive if you just don't want the nation seeing how bad the Saints are, but could also be a positive, a negative because it's embarrassing not being a prime time team. The only other two teams that don't have a primetime game in 2025 is the Cleveland Browns and the Tennessee Titans. But anyways, so let's go on to the last couple positives here. One positive is right out of the gate, the Saints have two home games. They play Arizona and play San Francisco. So you get two home games back to back. Then they play two games away, the Seahawks and the Buffalo Bills, and then they play two more home games back to back, the New York Giants and the New England Patriots. And then they play at Chicago, then home for Tampa, at the Rams, at Carolina. Then they have a bye week, week 11. So they have a good bye week. At least the last couple of years it hadn't really helped the Saints a whole lot because they haven't really been competitive. They've been basically technically like eliminated from the playoffs by the time week 11 rolls out around, but still nice to not have your bye week in like week 4 or week 5, so that's a positive. And then they play Atlanta at home, then Miami uh, at the Dolphins, at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and then they play Carolina and New York Jets at home back to back, and then you have Tennessee Titans on the road and Atlanta Falcons on the road, which is a TBD. So if the Saints are halfway decent at this point, they can maybe land them on Sunday Night Football possibly, or at least maybe a game of the week if say the Saints and the Falcons are kind of fighting it out for who's going to be the NFC champions, or whether it's just for the Saints to get the number one pick if they lose, or knock the Atlanta Falcons out of playoff contention if they win. So it's got TBD for even the day or the day, and the time or channel or anything. So that could definitely change if the Saints end up being any good. It could also change if the Saints are any good, like say later in the season. Say, I know this sounds impossible, but they're 5-3 or 6-3 or something like that. Maybe they could end up getting moved to a primetime game because the Saints no primetime games, but the NFC South, those teams have primetime games. The Atlanta Falcons actually have 5 primetime games, even though they didn't even win the division last year. They were just a couple wins better than the Saints. And then even so, yeah, they have 5 primetime games. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers have 4, which that's understandable because they've kind of owned the NFC South the past couple of years, and they were in the playoffs. So I mean, I can understand that one. But then the Carolina Panthers, who were even worse than the Saints this last year, uh, they actually have 1 primetime game. So that's something with the whole primetime game thing that makes that kind of embarrassing. But something else to look at for this season. So we talked about how the Saints are just an underdog this season, and by the scheduling of primetime games and things like that, you can obviously uh, understand that and understand why the NFL doesn't want to put that product on a national stage. But it kind of feels good to be coming into almost every game as like an underdog. You're looking to upset someone, looking to upset some opposing fans team, maybe ruin some seasons if they really are that bad and have nothing to play for, but are still the underdog. But off of Vegas's odds, preseason odds, the Saints are really only favored in one game this year, and it's the the home game against the New York Jets, and they're just a 3.5 point favorite over the New York Jets, which is kind of surprising. We'll kind of go through games where I think they're like winnable, at least. So Arizona, the home opener, September 7th, I would like to say at noon, I'd like to say on CBS, would like to say that that's a winnable game and that, kind of Arizona, they're kind of hit and miss the last couple of years, depending on whether whether Kyler Murray's playing Call of Duty or if he's injured or not. Just kind of hard to know if Arizona is going to be good or not. But going off of past history and past odds that the Saints could beat the Arizona Cardinals, you have to go back to 1969. That the last time Arizona Cardinals got beat by a rookie quarterback in the season opener. So that alone isn't real great odds. So that's something to think of. But I could see that game going either way. And similar with even the second game of the week of the season, Sunday, September 14th, noon on Fox against the San Francisco 49ers. Like I still have to see if the 49ers are back or if they're still like a top 10 draft team like they were last year. Like is Christian McCaffrey is Brock Purdy still the same player he quarterback without all the weapons and the healthy weapons, and you got like a 40-year-old left tackle and Trent Williams. Like, are the 49ers back? Like, are they back, or are they just kind of a shell and similar to what they were last year? Because if they're just that, then I could definitely see the Saints beating them and starting the season 2-0 like they have like the past 2-3 seasons, and then just go for a whole tank job. And then you have in week 3, you have it's Sunday, September 21st at 3:05 on CBS. You have at the Seattle Seahawks, and that's another one I could see the Saints winning. Like, are you going to put that much faith in Sam Darnold? Obviously, the Seattle Seahawks paid him a big contract, and they must believe in him. But I had to see it, seeing Sam Darnold as something the Saints should fear, and just the overall like rest of the team. I guess they got Jackson Smith and Jigba and that that running back. What is his name? Something the third. He's kind of injury prone, and then don't really know a whole lot about the Seattle Seahawks defense. But that's another one I could see the Saints winning. And so this is where it gets kind of tricky in the season, just for travel time and having your first back-to-back road games. But you're going from the West Coast in Seattle all the way out to the North Coast, almost like in Canada, at the Buffalo Bills, and that's Sunday, the September 28th at noon on CBS. So that's the Buffalo Bills. So that's just kind of just check that one off as that's a loss. That could easily be the Saints' first loss of the season, and just as easily could be their fourth straight loss of the season. And then you're getting into a little bit better, a little bit better of a stretch. Like that could be your like one of your toughest stretches to open the season, and then it starts to get a little bit easier. Sunday, October 5th against the New York Giants at noon at home on CBS. Like, I could see the Saints beating them. The Saints should have beat them last year. Am I supposed to really be that concerned and worried about Jackson Dart? Not really. But probably the biggest thing to be worried about with the New York Giants is how good their pass rush is going to be uh, with uh, with Jihad, the no, with Abdul Carter and Dexter Lawrence and Brian Burns. That pass rush is the main thing I'm concerned about the New York Jets. But other than that, I don't see them as being a whole lot better than the Saints. But New York odds have them as favorites against the Saints. It may just be like 2 points or something, or 3.5. I think Arizona is a 3.5 point favorite over the Saints at home. And then you have week 6, Sunday, October 12th, the New England Patriots at 3:25 p.m. on CBS. So I could see the Saints winning that game. And then Sunday, October 19th, Chicago at Chicago, noon at Fox. And these are games that are lucky that the Saints are getting to play, kind of lucky that the Saints get to play these games like early in the season. These games like at Chicago, at Buffalo, at Seahawks, like that. That's a real gift to the Saints. So I could see the Saints winning pretty much every one of those games again, besides Buffalo. And then we have Week 8, Sunday, October 28th, 3:05 on Fox. You have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Divisional rivals, NFC South rivals. I mean, games like that, they could go either way. They're a coin flip. Even though I will admit the Buccaneers and Baker Mayfield kind of owned the Saints last year, and really have since Drew Brees has retired, kind of owned the Saints. But still, it's a divisional rival, and even the games last year were close at moments in the game. And Spencer Rattler looked good, like in the second quarter and the first game of the season. But like I said, it's a divisional game. And then you have Week 9, Sunday, November 2nd at 3:05 on Fox. You have at Los Angeles Rams. If they're healthy and Sam Darnold, or not Sam Darnold, but Matthew Stafford is healthy, I could see that being a loss. So that could easily be a loss. So the Buffalo Bills and Los Angeles Rams definitely are losses. And then you have Week 10, Sunday, November 9th at Carolina Panthers, noon, and on Fox. So obviously the Saints can beat Carolina. The Saints probably should have swept them last year. So just all about the improvements on Carolina, and if Bryce Young takes a step forward off of his positive kind of end to the 2024 season. And then week 11, we'll have that bye week. It's slotted at about right exactly where you'd want your bye week to be. And then week 12, Sunday, November 23rd, Atlanta Falcons at home, 3:25 p.m. on Fox. I mean, obviously, a divisional opponent could see the Saints beating them. And then week 13, Sunday, November 30th, at noon on Fox at the Miami Dolphins. So that's kind of one of those ones, kind of like the Los Angeles Rams one. Like, is Tua healthy? Is Waddle healthy? Like, how healthy are the Dolphins come week 13? Like, if the Saints are healthy and the Dolphins aren't, and we're having, just like the last couple of years, having Tua Tagovailoa dealing with concussions and things, that could be a win by the Saints. They could beat them. Week 14, Sunday, December 7th, at Tampa Bay, noon on CBS. I mean, we already mentioned that. Maybe the only thing that makes that a little bit more difficult is that it's at Tampa, but still division rival, division opponent. And then week 15, Sunday, December 14th, Carolina Panthers at 325 on Fox. So we've definitely said that half a dozen times now. Division opponent, like there's no reason the Saints can't beat or really shouldn't be underdogs to the Carolina Panthers at home, even though they did lose to them last year around this time in the year. And then week 18, Sunday, December 21st, New York Jets at noon on CBS. The only game that in the Vegas preseason odds have the Saints as a favorite over, or the Jets at 3.5 points, which is just crazy. Like I don't see how the Saints aren't like a favorite over Carolina at home, or the New York Jets at home, or the New England Patriots at home, or even the Arizona Cardinals at home. And then week 17th, Sunday, December 28th, you have the Tennessee Titans at Tennessee at noon on CBS. I could see the Saints being um, favorites over Tennessee. Mentioning Tennessee, I'm kind of surprised that they don't have a primetime game, because you'd think the NFL would want to show off the 2025 NFL draft's #1 pick at least once. You got Tennessee and the Browns and the Saints without any primetime games, but you got the Falcons with 5. You had I think the Dallas Cowboys had 8, and they were I think they had a higher draft pick than the Saints, or maybe they were pick 10, somewhere around there. They weren't exponentially better than the Saints. And then week 18 was the TBD game against Atlanta. The only super positive to that is maybe if the Saints are good at this point, this game could be moved to a Sunday night or a Thursday night or something like that. But also, if the Saints are bad, they could be in the position to maybe keep the Falcons from making the playoffs. Which, like after those wins and Saints fans going nuts and going crazy, and Falcoholics comment section, the Falcons fans will definitely be saying, "Oh, you're just so excited because that's basically your Super Bowl." Yes, yes, I definitely would feel like that if the Saints are able to sweep the Falcons, with how this season's building up and the expectations of it. Something as fun as that, and as 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 nice to ruin Falcons fans' season, or just the Falcons' season. Yeah, that would feel like a Super Bowl, considering the Saints are only expected to win like 5 or less games this season. But like going through this schedule, like I see about 10 games possibly the Saints could win. I could see them beating Arizona. I could see them beating New York, the Patriots, the Bears, the Buccaneers once, the Carolina Panthers at least once, the Falcons at least once, the Miami Dolphins, the New York Jets, and like Tennessee Titans. So that's like 10 games that I could see, the 10 games or so that I could see the Saints winning. I'm a little surprised that they're not favorites in more of these games, but with how the Saints injury luck it goes, and how there's always teams that turn around and end up being good when they're expected to be bad. I could easily see that happening, like with the New York Patriots, like if they take a step forward with Drake May, or even the Chicago Bears with Caleb Williams, the #1 pick from last year. With how the Saints season is being built up and how they're being respected or disrespected by the league because of how bad they're expected to be, like they're kind of slotted as having the #1 pick in the 2026 draft already. So I want to take those 10 winnable games that I think or could see the Saints winning, and like cut it in half, and maybe just give the Saints 5 wins again. Like I know it's not as exciting, and this whole schedule release definitely wasn't as fun as it's been in last couple of years, where you could just go down the list and being like, that's a win, that's a win, that's a win, and before you know it, you think that the Saints are guaranteed at least 10 wins on the season, or can't see how the Saints don't make the playoffs with this kind of schedule. And in previous years, wouldn't you have loved to be the Super Bowl contending team, like one piece away type team, or Drew Brees still in his prime or just exiting his prime, coming into a season like this that's considered the second easiest in the NFL this year. But anyways, that's about all I have to say. That's about all I have for you with the schedule released, and saying the name one more time, the Derek Carr saga. As far as we know, it's over, and hopefully my predictions for just 5 wins. Hopefully it's the full 10 of expected or probable teams that the Saints could do, or potential teams that the Saints could potentially beat. But anyways, I think that's about all I have for you this evening. So who dat? And can I get a check, please?